The West African country of Mali is today torn in brinksmanship between ethnic Tuareg northerner militias occupying the main cities of the northern part of the country, a military junta struggling to stabilize itself in the capital Bamako, and the West African regional body ECOWAS trying to contain regional spillover from Mali. The northern Malian cities of Kidal, Gao, and Timbuktu are now under the control of Tuareg militias, with the National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad faction fighting for the autonomy, if not independence, of their Azawad region, while the Ansar Dine faction are fighting to install Islamic law. Many Malian military forces have abandoned their fight in northern Mali, leaving their positions for Tuareg rebels to now occupy. In Bamako, the military junta led by Captain Amadou Sanogo are isolated in the West African sub-region, facing intense pressure from the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, to promptly return power to a civilian government. ECOWAS leaders are meeting in Senegal April 2nd to determine how to compel a restoration of civilian rule in Bamako, and they are also determining how to reverse Tuareg advances. It is an intense game of brinksmanship being played out in Bamako. The junta has appealed for regional and foreign military assistance to counter the Tuareg advance, but ECOWAS is loath to intervene as long as the junta is in power. ECOWAS has intervened in West African conflicts in the past, in Liberia and Sierra Leone in the late 1990s and early 2000s, but those interventions were to enforce peace measures during civil wars where civilians faced intense acts of brutality. Mali is not experiencing a civil war of that sort, compelling an intervention to protect civilian lives, and some civilians in Bamako have cheered on the junta. The Malian junta has reinstated the country's constitution, which it suspended following its March 23rd coup. Captain Sanogo has stated his junta intends to organize free and fair elections and that it will not participate in those elections. But the Malian junta has not only failed in restoring security in the north, which had been its major justification for deposing the government of President Amadou Toumani Toure. The junta taking power in Bamako has actually prompted a significant deterioration in the efforts to combat the Tuareg rebellion. The brinksmanship is driven by common interests shared throughout West Africa. What the Malian government and the West African states want is the maintenance of the country's territorial integrity and not an effective division of the country. These governments also want to prevent the occurrences of violent changes in power, the military coup. When these events happen in one country, the other governments in the region look to their own territories and style of governance for how likely these events could be replicated against them. ECOWAS and the international community will intensify pressure on the Malian junta, but politically they are constrained to intervene on behalf of the junta against the Tuareg rebellion. How long it takes for the junta to vacate power in Bamako is not clear, weeks and possibly months, but vacating power is effectively a precondition before ECOWAS would intervene in support of civilian-led Malian armed forces. Malian forces will desperately need ECOWAS regional assistance to restore coherence in their own military and attempt to mount an effective offensive to begin to push back the Tuareg rebellion.